need backup plans to survive. There's no mystery rapture coming to save the church from the destructions of the tribulation period. So start preparing now. We're entering into right now a 3-year period that could see 90% of the church eliminated by the 3rd year in death and persecutions. If you wanted to pinpoint a year of when the tribulation period will start, I've always said September 2005 would probably be the starting year, and it looks like it's going to be that way. I know a lot of people wanted to back up at 2003, and that was probably very viable too. But 2005 definitely also being a starting point year, and it looks like that's exactly what this is going to be. Most of you need to have backpacks handy that you can grab and run, already stocked with things you would need to survive for 3 or more days. You can put a backpack on a child that's not too weighted down. So start pre-packing backpacks. And, with some adults, you could probably carry 2 apiece. If you have to leave your home and get out of there, have these things already stacked and stocked up so you're ready to go at a moment's notice. Get away from the coastlines. Get away from the Mississippi River from Chicago all the way down to what's left of New Orleans in the south. Get away from that river at least by a 100-mile stretch. Imagine if this river were widened by 100 miles or even 50 miles on each side of it, because it's going to divide this nation in half. You're going to see the Mississippi split and divide this nation. It's going to destroy every city in its path from the north to the south of this country. Some areas will just be out of fuel and electricity, while others will lose everything they have from natural disasters. Be prepared to relocate, but not in a government relocation. Do your own thing. Don't let the government throw you in a camp. Don't find yourself having to be thrown in a relocation camp. Have some kind of backup plans to where you can go somewhere else, anywhere else, but having to be dependent on the government. And that's what's going to be the biggest problem, is so many people aren't going to be prepared for that, and they're going to end up in government help, and they're going to end up in government camps. And that's where 90% of your persecutions are going to come from, because, you've got thousands, probably millions of church believers expecting some big rapture to come and rapture them away before it gets really bad in America. And they're going to be caught right in the middle of it. They're going to find themselves caught in hurricanes. They're going to find themselves caught in the coming earthquakes, the volcanic disruptions, tornadoes, rivers widening, the coast coming farther inland. They're going to find themselves in the middle of all of these destructions because they weren't listening and they weren't preparing. So you need to start thinking ahead. You've probably got, some of you could have a month, some of you could have a year to get away from where you are. And right now, the biggest concerns for worry, obviously the coast, either side of the Mississippi River. I don't know how far, but just imagine if it stretched 100 miles from what it is now, all the way down to the south. If you're in a city or you're living right up near the Mississippi River, start making plans to get away from it. Move out of there. Northern Arkansas, supposed to be a safe zone. Also northeast Washington. What I want to do is go over Chuck Youngbrandt. Somebody sent me some prophecies that Chuck Youngbrandt has in one of his books, and I'm not even sure what book it is. But what I thought was amazing was he touched on everything that I've warned about, just from what I've learned in the Bible codes over the last 4 years. In fact, everything he said was everything I've been saying, the only difference being an earthquake in St. Louis that he prophesied for on this September 19th. And so I've never seen an earthquake in St. Louis, but that's a possibility. Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So be prepared in St. Louis. If you live in St. Louis, Missouri, there could be a devastating earthquake there this month on the September 19th. Chuck Youngbrandt has started his years for starting at 2000, because his book was written back in the 70s, I believe. But I guess if you take his book and rearrange it from being 2000 to 2003 to 2005 and 2008, it gives you a better idea, because he starts it with the New Orleans hurricane. He does mention that, and of course we know that we just had the New Orleans hurricane. So if you start his prophecies with the first year being the hurricane and go from there, then you can start to see somewhat of a timeline in his prophecies that he gives. And that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to go through this timeline because a lot of the stuff, like I said, completely coincides with things I've seen. And so what he did was he divided the judgment that he saw from visions into a 3-year progression. But he believed it would start in 2000. We're now seeing it starting in 2005. And what it will do is progress into an enemy occupation of America lasting 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, the occupying armies will be driven out. And, of course, if it started in 2005, then you would see a 7-year progression ending at 2012. And everybody pretty familiar with 2012 being a target date for the year. The time as we know it just ending. So what I want to do is just finish off this year that he has prophesied for you. I might want to get a pen. I might say something of interest to you. Again, all I can do is sound the alarms, folks. It's up to you to seek the Lord and prepare and get out of your areas if He leads you to get out of them. According to Chuck Youngbrand, you could see a devastating earthquake in St. Louis on September 19th, felt all the way to Chicago. On October 5th, an earthquake in California. I don't think this is the big one. It may be the one that a lot of other people have seen that takes out the city of San Francisco. And so that being in October. And he also, and this is what surprised me because I haven't seen anybody else come out with it like he did, but he details the whole plan, the whole facade where Russia would accidentally nuke 4 of our cities. And then in retaliation, the United States would nuke 3 of theirs. And he has this happening for this December. Because it was in the first year of his prophecies. He had it broken down into 3 years. And so what I had to do was go through, starting with the hurricane in New Orleans that he prophesied would be in August, which really had started in August and carried through in September. And then he had St. Louis in October, St. Louis in September, California in October, and 4 cities being nuked in December. Try to go through here for 2006, what you can expect. In 2006, North Korea will attack South Korea. China attacks Taiwan. So this puts us, still at war in the Persian Gulf, where we will lose. The stock market will start its fall in July, and will result in 1/2 of the people being out of work with great inflation, coupled with food shortages. Starvation will start then. Other prophets have said terrorist attacks will become common here. The destruction of trains, planes, school buses, power plants, and just on and on, with economy reduced, fuel being in short supply. Food riots starting in August of 2006. August will be a turning point. Those who are rebellious against God will now rebel against the government, including the communist fifth columns we have here. Military troops will have to be called out as a result. Some will repent, but many will continue in rebellion. Chuck says God said 90% of the rebellious and disobedient church people will die during this time. Also, germ warfare, or at least a plague, breaks out in California and Georgia, killing thousands as it spreads. Panic and fear will result. China and Japan will buddy up because